Welcome to Stache, it's never said Stache Sports. I hope you had a good weekend. Before we get into this past weekend sports, Clash in Italy, my recap and my opinions about the matches and how they lasted and how I thought the overall pay-per-view was, and other sports that happened this past weekend, baseball and basketball, and the Game 7 recap. First, we're going to have to talk about late breaking news in the NFL. Today is June 1st, so some teams are trading some players away because past June 1st, because if you trade a player past June 1st, it helps with salary cap management. For instance, if AJ Brown carried a $24 million cap hit in 26, but if traded before June 1st, deals would incur a $45 million dead cap hit, which would severely limit their offseason flexibility. By waiting until after June 1st, the NFL allows the Eagles to split the dead money across the 2026 and 2027 seasons, reducing the limit cap hit an approximate $16.4 million for 26 and 27 to $27 million, $27.1 million and 27, and effectively saving over $20 million in media cap space. So the reason they trade players away past June 1st is to help with a cap penalty, so they don't have much of a dead cap hit. But boy, we had a couple whopping trades already in the NFL. I mean, a lot of people expected AJ Brown to get traded to the New England Patriots, which before this episode, it looks like he did. I'm going to bring it up here to see what the trade was. But the other trade I'll get into later, Myles Garrett, who just signed a couple years ago, or last year, with the Cleveland Browns, got traded to the Los Angeles Rams. That's a huge trade. As a Steelers fan, I'm glad he got traded because now the Steelers don't have to worry about him. Him trying to sack our quarterback, if it's Aaron Rodgers, whoever the quarterback is. We don't have to worry about him unless we play the Los Angeles Rams. But I do think if this trade does go through, the Los Angeles Rams have got a lot better and are a heavy favorite to win Super Bowl now after getting Myles Garrett, a two-time Defensive Player of the Year, and coming off a Defensive Player of the Year last year. But it's going to be interesting in terms of events to see what happens in the NFL now. But let's see. First, we had a Blockbuster trade. A lot of people expected AJ Brown to get traded today, like I said before, because it helps with the salary cap hit and they don't have to pay as much, or they can split it between two seasons and not have to pay as much salary cap hit as they would have if they traded him before June 1st. Because we all knew that AJ Brown was probably going to be out the door past June 1st so they could alleviate the salary cap and pay the salary cap over the next few years and not have as much of a dead salary cap hit. A dead salary cap hit, for those of you that might be new to sports or new to this channel, means that it's dead money, so they can't use the money. So like if somebody players, for instance, like a couple years ago when the Steelers got Russell Wilson from the Broncos cut him, but he had a $40 million cap hit, so that means the Broncos are still paying Russell Wilson, even though Russell Wilson came to the Steelers on the vet minimum, which was basically making nothing, because the Denver Broncos were basically paying his whole salary because they still owed him the money from a big mega contract that they owed him. Because some of these players that get big mega contracts get money guaranteed. So that means the team still has to pay them the money that's guaranteed even if they trade them. But sometimes they can get it off their books and not have to pay them as much if they do it past June 1st. I guess there's some rule in the NFL, but if they trade them past June 1st, then it doesn't matter and they don't have as much of a cap hit. It still confuses me. So I'm not a mathematician, and all these numbers confuse me and all this stuff. And sometimes I don't know how some of these teams can afford to keep all these players and still pay them when they get when the Rams just got a big contract in Myles Garrett. The Cleveland Browns have agreed to trade two-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year Myles Garrett to Los Angeles Rams for two-time Pro Bowler pass rusher Jared Verse. Jared Verse is a young and upcoming star from Florida State, University of Florida State. He's made the Pro Bowl his first two seasons, so it's going to be interesting to see. But I do think that the Browns might have lost. I don't know if the Browns made even or if this is an okay trade. But in my opinion, as a diehard Steelers fan, I'm glad Myles Garrett is out because Myles Garrett was one of the top kryptonites for the Steelers and always seemed to be able to sack the quarterbacks of the Steelers and get past them. He was one of the better edge rushers in the game, and he's going to be on the stacked Los Angeles Rams team now. So I think the Los Angeles Rams got a lot better. And with Matthew Stafford and company, I think they might be the favorites to go out of the NFC to go to this year's Super Bowl. According to Vegas odds, they got a lot better odds now, too, of going to the Super Bowl. But I think it's a good... I mean, I'm glad he's gone, so we don't have to deal with him. But let's face it, he wasn't really going to win anything here with the Cleveland Browns anyway. No offense if my friends are watching the Browns, but you know that to be true. But he wasn't going to win anything anyway with the Browns. So the Browns got more draft picks to the future and got a young player for the future. Because Myles Garrett is 6 years older than this guy. So, I mean, Myles Garrett might have a few more years left where he's still dominant pro. But at least this guy might have a lot more years left in the tank and might be able to prove himself and be one of these up-and-coming stars. But you don't know. We're going to have to see how that pans out and what happens. But I think in the short run right now, I think the Rams won the trade. But the long run, in the future, we'll see how good the trade is for the Browns and see if they hit on these draft picks they got. But we'll go back to the trade. The Browns received a first-round draft pick in 2027, a second-round draft pick in 2028, and a third-round draft pick in 2029. And which one of these is? And what is one of the biggest trades in NFL history involving a defensive player? A shocking trade. I mean, that is shocking. Because a lot of people, like I said, thought A.J. Brown would get traded to the Patriots or get traded out of Philadelphia. There wasn't that many people like Adam Schefter or Ian Rappaport, Pat McAfee, or anybody really talking about, or any of these experts talking about the Browns wanting to get rid of Myles Garrett when he's a defensive player of the year and was one of their best players. In my opinion, or T.J. Watt, or their best player on their team. Get rid of him and send him to a different team. There wasn't that many talks like there was during the draft after the Eagles got up above the Steelers and got that receiver that I can't remember his name right now. But we'll see. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But the shocking trade is a complete out of brand for the Rams. The Rams are trading away a lot of their picks. I guess the Rams don't really care about their picks. The Rams are in a win-now mode and want to win now before Matthew Stafford retired, because Matthew Stafford isn't getting younger, and Matthew Stafford probably only has a couple years left in him anyway. Remember, once again, the Rams' interest in Garrett was sparked shortly after the Browns modified his contract after a 7-time Pro Bowl defense in March pushing back to option bonus for 15th day of league year in March. The Browns are adamant that they had no interest in trading Garrett, but they did, so it doesn't matter now. But the Rams refused to give up some called Garrett to Los Angeles, according to sources. I guess the Browns wanted 25-year-old Jordan Verse, so that's why Jordan Verse is going to the Browns. Jordan Verse is an Ohio native, which I saw later in the video. But according to reports, I know it could backfire and it could not come out. But right now, and I'll keep you updated. According to reports, it looks like Myles Garrett will be a Los Angeles Ram and Jordan Verse will be a Cleveland Brown. Like I said earlier in the video, I think this is a good trade in the short run for the Rams, because I think the Rams are a team that was one play away last year from beating the Seahawks and going to the Super Bowl. I think this is good for the Rams because they needed a good edge rusher, and they got a couple good players. They got Trent McDuffie and a couple good cornerbacks this year and helped their defense a lot this year in free agency. At least in free agency and free trades this year in the offseason, and now they got Myles Garrett. I guess now getting Ty Simpson in the pick, making it look like a surprise 13th pick isn't as bad now, because maybe it could be their future. But at least now, if we get Myles Garrett, it doesn't make that player look like more of a waste of a pick as it was when they drafted him, because they could have got a player that they could have used now in the long run, and in the short run and for the long run. I guess they could use Ty Simpson after Matthew Stafford finally retires, but Matthew Stafford is here for a couple more years, So that was a shock. But I guess now, after getting Myles Garrett, it doesn't really matter because now we have a superstar team, according to all these experts, and according to me too. I think they have a good team, and I think they could be one of the teams to watch out for in the NFC. So glad we don't have to deal with Myles Garrett twice a year now, and only have to deal with him if we play the Los Angeles Rams. So Myles Garrett was a true wrecking ball and came in there. I mean, he even whacked us out. He even got in a big altercation a couple years ago with Mason Rudolph. When Mason Rudolph was starting for the Steelers, and had the Rams potentially were not interested in moving Verse, but eventually began to consider a package for him as long as the draft picks were adjustable. But that's nice. So again, according to reports, the Los Angeles Rams and Cleveland Browns have agreed to trade NFL defensive player and two-time defensive player of the year Myles Garrett to the Los Angeles Rams for two-time Pro Bowler and pass rusher Jalen Verse. I mean, Jalen Verse is a younger version pass rusher, but Myles Garrett is feared to be and is on, even though was a Cleveland Brown, is one of the best pass rushers in the NFL today. And Jordan Verse is a young and upcoming star, but could be a good pass rusher in the future. But right now, in the short run, I think the Los Angeles Rams won that trade. But we'll have to see what happens with the Cleveland Browns, and see how good they do in the long run to see if they do good in that trade. The Browns also received a first-round draft pick, a 27th second round in the third round. So they got a couple of draft picks. I was surprised they only got one first round. I mean, they got Jordan Verse that was drafted in the first round. So they got a first-round player that they can develop and is still on his rookie contract. So that's a good trade that's good for them. And they got rid of that money. And I don't know how much dead cap they got to hit. Because like I said, the dead cap and all that money is beyond my expertise. Eagles trade, breaking news. I mean, no one is surprised, but Eagles officially, according to reports, have traded A.J. Brown to the Patriots for 2 draft picks. The Eagles have agreed to trade star A.J. Brown to the New England Patriots for 2 draft picks. For a first-round pick in 2028 and the 2027 fifth-round pick. The fifth-round selection will be the better of New England's selections in the round of next year's draft, sources told ESPN. The trade, which had been discussed and anticipated across the NFL, for months. That's true. Every month, it seems like they kept talking about on the Pat McAfee show or every separate shows about A.J. Brown getting traded to the Patriots, so that's no surprise. It was more of a surprise to see Myles Garrett get traded because Myles Garrett wasn't really talking about getting traded, and I don't remember watching the Pat McAfee show and having them talk about Myles Garrett as much as they were talking about A.J. Brown getting traded past June 1st so they could save money in the dead cap and not have to pay as much in the salary cap and work around that because that's a rule in the NFL. They can work around that. Brown, who turned 29, was given the Patriots quarterback Drake May a number 1 target as part of Ray-Ban top receiver depth chart alongside free agent signing Romeo Doubs. They got Malachi Lemon by trading with the Dallas Cowboys in front of the Steelers, and Malachi Lemon looked like he was going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler, but I think Jeremiah Bernard would be a lot better than Malachi Lemon, but that was what the Eagles did. So when they got Malachi Lemon, he kind of knew that the door was open for A.J. Brown to get traded out or dealt out because they have Devontae Smith and they have Hollywood Brown. And they got Malachi Lemon, so you figured that the wall was on with his cap hit and how much they were paying him, you could figure that he could get traded. And a lot of people always thought that the Patriots are going to trade him anyway because there's no other team that really won him besides the Patriots. So that's why the Patriots were waiting until June 1st to trade him. So the Eagles wouldn't have to pay as much dead cap hit, which dead money means they can't use the money. So it'd be like if you had a lot of money, it was just dead and you couldn't use to help your team. So that's why the Eagles waited until past June 1st. By waiting until June 1st, the Eagles can now split Brown's $40 million salary cap charge between 2026 and 2027. A.J. Brown's a good receiver. It's going to be good to see Romeo Doubs and A.J. Brown team up, and I guess the Patriots something they need, another receiver. I mean, the Patriots did make the Super Bowl last year and made it pretty far, but we'll see what happens. They're in the tough division of the Buffalo Bills. I mean, I don't know who the Miami Dolphins or Jets are going to be anything this year, but maybe in the future it could be something. But that's something good that they got. But A.J. Brown does cause a lot of drama sometimes, so we'll see with the coach who has caused the drama with Diana Rossini. But I think that's a good trade. I mean, I'm not surprised. I was more shocked to see, like I said, Myles Garrett get traded. I'm glad that Myles Garrett got traded because Myles Garrett was a wrecker, and I'm glad we don't have to deal with him anymore in the AFC North if it becomes true. But we don't have to deal with Myles Garrett, and I think the Browns traded away their best player. I mean, the Eagles have good receivers, so it wasn't like he was their best player. I mean, he was a good receiver, but he wasn't like their best receiver, so I think the Eagles will be just fine with the trade and got a couple picks, and we'll see what they do in the first-round pick and the fifth-round pick they got back. We'll see what they do in the future and what they build on and that. But with that being said, I think the most shocking trade was the Browns trade. Odell Beckham Jr. re-signed with the Giants today. Odell Beckham Jr. used to be in the Giants and started his career with the Giants, and now he's back to team up with Jackson Dart. And also, they signed Juju Smith-Schuster, and they signed Calvin Austin this year too. But last year, Malik Neighbors tore his ACL and had to get a re-scooped or something like that. So there might be some more to his injury that the Giants are letting us believe, but the Giants are not telling us or not letting us hear because the Giants are now stockpiling receivers. So I don't know if that means that's not good for Malik Neighbors or they're just trying to get a lot of receivers because right now you can have more than 53 players and they're not signing for that much money. So I don't know what that means. But right now the Giants got Odell Beckham Jr. and they also got Juju Smith-Schuster, who used to play for the Patriots a couple years ago. And started off playing for our beloved Pittsburgh Steelers. And Russell Wilson is going to leave the NFL and become a CBS analyst now. Russell Wilson used to play for the Steelers a couple years ago before we got rid of him and got Aaron Rodgers, and he was a backup quarterback last year for the New York Giants. So I guess he doesn't want to be a backup quarterback and thinks he can get paid more money and not have to worry about being a back quarterback and is going to retire now and be a CBS analyst like J.J. Watt and all these other ones. It'll be interesting to hear how he talks about football and what he brings. I mean, he might be better than Tony Romo talking, LOL, but we'll see. But I'm still shocked about the Browns trading away their best player in Myles Garrett. I mean, I'm glad because I'm a diehard Steelers fan, and that means we will have less time to having to deal with Myles Garrett. And Myles Garrett was a troublemaker and always try to wreck the Steelers and try to sack our quarterback. And now having a 4-2 quarterback, you don't have to worry about one of the best defensive players in the league, Myles Garrett, trying to sack Aaron Rodgers this year. But I don't think we played the Los Angeles Rams. If we do, we only played them one time, unless we meet them up again in the Super Bowl. Also, we got some interesting news on Friday last week. I forgot to talk about on Saturday. But a Steelers special teams assistant coach got fired for team misconduct. Or violating club rules, I guess it was considered. I don't know what he'd violate on club rules, but it must have been something bad because most of these guys, like him, were brand new from Mike McCarthy's staff since Mike Tomlin retired last year and stepped down. So, we kept a couple of them, we kept Tom Arf, our quarterback coach, but kept a couple of coaches from Mike Thomas' staff. But most of these coaches are new, and he was new, and he didn't even make it past off-season workouts, OTAs. So it must have been something bad that he did to get in trouble. And receiver and ex-coach Raymond Berry dies at 90. That's sad. 93. Vikings hire Seattle Seahawks Nolan Terry as new GM. The Minnesota Vikings have hired Nolan Terry as the GM manager, conducting an individual chapter for the franchise. So that's all the NFL news right now. Now we're going to get back. The San Antonio Spurs won Game 7 And a great game. That was a good game, even though my friend Colin blocked us all because he's a little crybaby. But that was a good game, and now it's gonna on Wednesday night. It's gonna be a San Antonio Spurs, and it's gonna be the New York Knicks in the final. The Spurs are back in the final for the first time since like 2016 or for a while. But it's gonna be interesting to see who wins. The Spurs won 111 to 103 in Game 7. And if you need to go back and hear my part 2 of my video because for some reason my episode ran out, I picked the Spurs to win. So I got that one right. The Spurs won 111 to 103. Victor Yamba, he's one of the young and upcoming players who could be one of these next young superstars in the NBA, had 22 points and 7 rebounds. And Castle, he's one of these good supporting actors and good team players, had 6 assists. But Chet Holmgren had only 4 points and 4 rebounds in Game 7. That's not good for any player to have 4 points and 4 rebounds when you wanted to start top superstars for your team. That's probably one reason why they lost. And also, Luke Cornett had an amazing block near the end of that game to try to help take away points in his hand for the Oklahoma City Thunder. For those who don't know, Luke Cornett used to play for the Boston Celtics last year, but they got rid of him, which I think was a bad mistake now, because Luke Cornett is back in the finals of the San Antonio Spurs, so I hope he can win over the San Antonio Spurs. Win another one. Ricky Alba and the San Antonio Spurs slated the Western Conference Finals with a win in Oklahoma City. Julian Champagny had 20 points. That's pretty good. Champagny had 20 points. Virginia had 22 points. Darren Fox had 15 points. Darren Vestal had 11 points. And Castle had 16. The bench had 11. Dylan Harper on the bench had 12 points. And Johnson had 11 points. Chet Holmgren had 33 minutes and only 4 points. That's pretty bad. Isaiah Hartenstein had 7 points. That's not good either. Luke Dort had Luke Dort had 3 points, and Wallace had 17. I mean, the reason the Spurs won is because their whole team decided to show up, and that's how it was the Victor Yama show. For the most part, it seemed like it was just the SGA show for the Oklahoma City Thunder. That's why they lost, because the other players didn't show up in the most pivotal game of the season. So you can keep trying, Colin, and block us all on Instagram. But that's the reason your team lost. So this past weekend on Sunday was Clash in Italy. It started off with the first hour free on ESPN, but I watched it all on the ESPN app. And the first match was a decent match between Cody Rhodes and Gunther. But the interesting thing was Cody Rhodes pinned Gunther near the end of the match, 3-2-1. Oh, spoiler alerts. If you haven't watched it, you might not want to watch this part. Sorry for saying that. I'll wave my hand when I'm done talking about it. But anyway, Cody Rhodes pinned Gunther near the rope, 3-2-1. But Gunther's foot was underneath the rope, touching the mat. And me and my older brother Kyle, who love watching wrestling and watched our whole lives, never knew that if your foot is underneath the rope, they should stop the count or stop the hold. Like for example, if your foot's touching the rope and there's a hold or there's a count, or your foot's or any part of your body is touching the ropes, then in a traditional match, you need to stop a count, and that breaks the count if you're touching the rope, or breaks the pin hold. That breaks the submission or whatever it is. If you have him in like a headlock, an arm bar or whatever, kind of any kind of submission or like anything in wrestling, if you touch any rope, it's gonna it should stop it, even if it's a count out, even the pinfall count out or submission, and they're trying to make you tap. But if you touch the rope, it stops that, and the ref needs to stop that and stop the hold, and the wrestler needs to release the hold and give up, and then give up so the other wrestler can take time to breathe or get into do another move. But apparently now too, there's a rule: if your foot's underneath the bottom of the rope, but it should stop a count. But that's something me and my brother learned on Sunday, because me and my older brother Kyle always thought that if you touch the top of the rope, if you touch the rope, like I said, then that's to stop a count or stop the submission. But we never thought if your foot was on the mat underneath the rope to stop it. But apparently that did. So now that's probably going to lead to Gunther vs. Cody Rhodes Part 2, which I mean, kind of figured that something was going to happen, lead to Cody Rhodes and Gunther Part 2 anyway. But I guess that's going to lead to Cody Rhodes and Gunther Part 2 down the road. Since there was a screw job finish or a messy finish, since the ref should have stopped the count because Gunther's foot was underneath the rope. And I guess since it's underneath the bottom rope, it should have stopped it. I mean, I never knew that was a case in WWE. I mean, you could call me a fake WWE fan. Oh, well, I don't care. I never knew that was the rule. I always thought you had to touch the rope to break the hold or break the count. But whatever. And then next we had Jay Cargill and Rhea Ripley. But Cody Rhodes won and retained his belt. I mean, like I called it, you can go back to watch Part 1, but I said Cody Rhodes will win the wrestling match, and I did. And Cody Rhodes held his belt, and moved on. And the next match in the first hour of ESPN, but I also did watch on the ESPN app, so I didn't want to change it, was Jay Cargill and Rhea Ripley. That was a decent match. I mean, both of them had help. Rhea Ripley had Charlotte Flair help her put her leg on the rope to stop the count, and Jay Cargill had Meat Shannon, B-Fab help her put her foot on a rope to break a count at one point in the fight. But Rhea Ripley ended up winning the fight and holding the belt. I think it might lead to another part of Rhea Ripley versus Jay Cargill, maybe down the road, part 3, but we'll see. And then on the first match of the pay-per-view, on the first match after that, on only ESPN app, it was Obafemi Part 2 versus Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar had 4 F5s or whatever it was, or 7 F5s, which is his finisher move. And I was surprised that Obafemi could keep getting up after those F5s, because when most wrestlers get the F5s, it's game over for them. When most wrestlers get the F5s, it's game over for them. But when the most get the F5s, it's over for them. But Obafemi made it quite a match, but it ended up winning. Brock Lesnar split and ended up winning Part 1. Or Part 2. So now the series is tied, and I do think it's going to go to a trilogy to see who wins the best out of 3. To see if it's Brock Lesnar or if it's Obafemi. I think it might happen at SummerSlam or sometime down the road. But Obafemi will fight Brock Lesnar again, but I don't think that was the end of that fight. I think it'll go to another round, or another match 3, to see who's the ultimate winner, since now they're split at 1 match apiece. But we'll see. But Brock Lesnar won Part 2, but I still think that it's going to go to Part 3. And he's not going to be retired to come out for another match. Or come out, because WrestleMania this year is in Brock Lesnar's hometown. So I don't know who's going to win it right now, because that's still far away. But I think it's not going to end there, and it's going to be a Part 3 of his match. But I think it's going to be a third match. And then the other match was Sol Ruca versus Becky Lynch. In that match, I said that Sol Ruca would win, and that was a good match. But Sol Ruca is our new IC champion, which is good. I hope we have Sol Ruca have a decent title run and don't give it right back to Becky Lynch. But that was nice to see Sol Ruca win it and hold the belt on, and not have to give her, and hope she doesn't give it right back today on Monday Night Raw, even though it already happened since it's in Italy. But I hope she doesn't give it right back to Becky Lynch. I hope we give her a nice run. And then we had a tribal combat match between Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu. That was a good match. Anything goes. They beat the crap out of each other, but that was a good match. And Roman Reigns ended up winning that match and keeping his belt, which I predicted anyway. So I got him all right. And if you don't believe me, you can go back and watch part 1 of the previous video, because I said that Sol Ruca won and Sol Ruca won. I'm glad Sol Ruca won. She's pretty too. No offense there. I mean, I think she's pretty, but I'm glad she won, and I'm glad they got a new IC champion, because Becky Lynch has had the belt, even though she lost to AJ Lee. She got it back from AJ Lee, but Becky Lynch has had the belt for quite a while. Becky Lynch needs to go on to a different belt, maybe like Liv Morgan's belt or Rhea Ripley's belt. She needs to stay away from the IC champion, and they need to give Sol Ruca a good run and go against other people and see how long she can hold it for, and not just give it right back to Becky. But that's my personal opinion. But I thought that was a good match, and I thought the Tribal Combat was a good match. I thought Obafemi, even though Brock Lesnar won, I thought that was a good match, and I thought the first 2 matches were good, even though they should have, even I guess now they should have stopped the count and the Gunfer match and just put what's underneath the rope. But overall, I thought it was a decent premium live event or pay-per-view, and I would give it a B+. I thought it was pretty good, or A. I thought it was a pretty good pay-per-view. It entertained me all the way through. But we didn't get Randy Orton coming back, like I said. So that was one thing wrong. But now we're going to have to see on Monday Night Raw, even though it's happened already, if Jacob Fatu is going to acknowledge Roman Reigns and learn underneath Roman Reigns to be Roman Reigns' servant since he lost. I mean, it's good to see Roman Reigns too win it without having his help from his cousins, because his cousins did come out afterwards, but they didn't help him win the match. Also, the Pirates swept the Minnesota Twins this week and sent Derek Shelton out like he was in here a loser. I mean, the reason Derek Shelton got fired is because he couldn't win, and the Pirates swept the Twins and ended up beating the Twins all 3 games. The first night they walked it off, the second night they won close, and the third night on Sunday they won like 9-3, so it wasn't a competition that night. But right now we have trouble brewing with Carmen Majewski, because he's having trouble going back down to the bullpen, which I think they should have moved Bubba Chandler down to the bullpen. But I'm not the manager or the management system, but excuse me, I'm not the manager of the management system, but Carmen Majewski needs to act his age and become a team player, or they need to trade him before it causes too much drama, because the Pirates are really good right now and we don't need more drama coming into our system. On Friday, the Pirates won 10-9, or Saturday, excuse me. Friday, they won 6-5, a walk-off. They won 10-9 and were able to hold it. I thought they were going to surely blow it when we watched the rest of it on Saturday, because it's close and their bullpen was in. I thought they were going to blow it. And on Sunday, they won 9-3 and had 8 runs and 1 error. O'Harn home run. O'Harn's back now. A lot of people thought O'Harn would be out for a month of his injury, but so glad he's back. Trio single. Wow, that's good. Gonzalez home run. Gonzalez is one of these up-and-comers that's not getting much talk about around the social media, around the media or local media, and I'm glad to see him doing good now too. Wow single. Cruz walked. And whatever. But that's nice to see the Pirates sweep. The Pirates have a day off before going to Houston tomorrow to play the Houston Astros. On June 1st, I think the Rays will beat the Tigers. I think the Dodgers will beat the Diamondbacks. I think the Mets will beat the Mariners. I think the Marlins will beat the Nationals. I think the Reds will beat the Royals. The Twins will beat the White Sox will beat the Twins. The Brewers will beat the Giants. The Rangers will beat the Cardinals, and the Rockies will beat the Angels. Last night and today. Last night the UCF baseball team lost to Auburn 9-3, and today the Florida State Seminoles lost 5-4 to St. John's, and they're out of the baseball playoffs now. But they had a good season. We'll talk more about the baseball playoffs tomorrow in tomorrow's episode and talk more about sports. I'm still shocked that if you heard at the beginning that Myles Garrett got traded, but we'll keep more eyes on that, and when it should become official. But if that changes, we'll talk more about that tomorrow and talk more about any more trades that happen tonight or any free agencies in the NFL. So the NFL season is starting to heat up. But thank you for watching that episode of Stache Sports.